Alright, the first thing I'm going to show you guys today is how to program your dragster using the Robot C program. So once the Robot C program is open, you need to go into the robot menu first, go into platform type. We need to make sure that VEX 2.0 Cortex is selected. Sometimes it does go to the VEX IQ, but we need to make sure that it is on the dot is next to the 2.0 Cortex. After that, it will, when you click this, it'll close that menu. We need to go back in. We need to come in and click so that there is a check mark beside the natural language PLTW. I can double check that by seeing that here. If I click it a second time, it actually shuts that feature off. So if you double check yourself, don't click here, just come off to the side and click again. The next item I need to do is I need to come back in. I need to go into communication mode and make sure USB only has the dot beside it. If not, your dragster will only work when plugged into the computer. After those three items are set up, we are ready to go ahead and hit new file. The first item I'm going to take care of is going into motor sensor setup. Okay, we have the motor tab which we'll use, and we have the digital sensor tab we'll use. Your motors are 2-wire motors, so that means that they can go in either port 1 or port 10, but it doesn't matter which one of those, you just have to select it. You also need to decide whether the motor is on the left or the right when naming it. And I like to use the capital letter for the M because you cannot space in the name. So if you put the capital letter, it almost kind of helps serve as a space between the words. When selecting the motor type, it is a VEX 393 motor. After you pick your motor, there's an option to reverse it. So after you get your car running, if you find that it is running backwards, you would just come back into your program, go to your motor sensor setup, check reversed, then hit apply, and it would reverse that motor. Okay. We also need to set up our sensor. Your button can go in any of these ports. It does not matter which one it goes in. We're simply going to name it button, and it is a touch sensor. So we're going to select touch. Once we have our motor and our button in there, we're going to go ahead and hit apply. Once you do that, you'll see the set of pragma statements at the top that lets you know that you programmed in digital 1. It's DGTL1. It looks like an 11, but it is DGTL and then the number, and it shows that we put the button in digital 1 and that the motor that is on the left side, and it's in port 1. After that, we've got our two curly brackets, our opening and our closing. We need to make sure we are between the curly brackets. So if you want to in the beginning, enter down space between there so that you've got some more room to work. After we get that going, we're going to come into our natural language functions on the side. We're going to go into until. We're going to use the until touch command. The until button press does not work for what we are working with, so we're going to use the until touch because it is a touch sensor. We're going to go into the movement. We'll start our motor up. We're going to go into wait. You can use wait time in half or whole seconds with the first one. If you want to go to quarter seconds or less than that, you would go into the wait in milliseconds. Each of these features are drag and drop items, so you just click on it and bring it over to the side. The last movement statement we need is to stop our motor, and then we have our code almost finished. We need to go in and still rename what is inside the brackets. So our touch sensor is our button. Our motor port, that is what we named our left motor. The fastest speed that our motors can run is at 127, so that would be the highest number. You can use any number from 1 to 127. For wait time, since you're wanting your dragster to go about 20 feet before it stops, you need to accommodate that by using the correct length of time. I suggest everybody start with 10 seconds, and then you can always adjust your time from there. We need to rename the last one left motor as well. So now basically what our code says is press the button, start our motors up, let our motors run for 10 seconds. After 10 seconds, we stop our motor. Okay. So after this is all set, I am going to hit compile program. Once I do that, it's going to spot check it almost like a spell check would do. It does prompt me to go ahead and save this. So when I do that, I'm going to go into my store and go flash drive, name the program with at least one person's name in your group, and then put a number. Then that way, as you change the program, you can adjust it. It could be Bennett 2, Bennett 3, because if you decide in the future that maybe your first program was better than the 5th one you've tried, you can always go back in and pull that up without having to reprogram. Okay, so I'm going to name my first one Bennett 1, making sure I clicked store and go from this left side. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. After that, it shows me that these are now, instead of in black, they're in red. Basically, it has gone in and spell checked the program to make sure it's what it needs to be. At the bottom, I can also see that it shows that it named it. If there were errors, we would see errors down here below at the bottom, or we would see red X's along the side of our program. At this point, that means your program is ready.